It's a pretty incredible move, really. When you first see the home, it's really up on a cliff.
In 6 days, this century-old arts and crafts house will hit the road.
I can't imagine looking at the house and thinking you could possibly do this.
The house needs to move from the top of a hill 24 feet above one of the busiest intersections in Seattle to a remote island in the San Juans.
We have identified this route down to a barge location, and that allows the house to be moved any place, including the beautiful San Juans.
It's a 60-mile trip by water.
In a week, it'll be over and we can enjoy our place on the island.
But the hill could make or break this move.
The hardest part to imagine is just getting it down from its current location.
I've been doing this job for 25 years. This is probably in the top 5% as far as the level of difficulty and complexity.
For Sally Vongsathorn, her husband Jeff Warner, and their son Ty, this vintage home is worth the trouble.
It's beautiful. We fell in love with it.
It's 2,800 square feet with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and plenty of 1908 charm.
I love this faux wood grain. Isn't that awesome? They can't do this anymore. I love that.
If I were a real estate agent, I think I'd probably put old world charm in there.
Moving it is the only way to save this old house.
This is a house that was in the path of future apartments.
I'm just really happy that it didn't have to be demolished.
The house would also be worth a lot of money if it weren't sitting right here.
It's got a beautiful dining room with box beam ceilings. A house like this in Seattle neighborhoods would be worth $900,000 or more.
Luckily, the cost of moving this house is only a fraction of that.
You're looking at somewhere between $150,000 to $200,000 for a move of this magnitude.
It was much more of a home than we would have gotten if we had built.
And Jeff and Sally's long-term plans hinge on everything going smoothly.
It's possible that we spend the last chapter of our lives there. We're very connected with the land that it will be on.
We stay there, usually overnight. It's been camping until next time we go, probably. We'll have the house.
But just getting the house off the hill and onto the barge could cause it to fall apart.
It's really not the typical move where you raise it up, put a truck under there, and haul it away.
First, the house must slide 27 feet forward, away from its foundation. And there's only one way to get it moving: rolling it.
This is the skate. These are the big roller skates that we're going to roll the building on.
Once it's off the foundation, the house must be skated sideways off the hill and onto a double tightrope of steel beams perched 18 feet in the air.
Which I might add will be quite spectacular that high in the air.
Next, it has to be lowered down to street level in time to cross busy East Lake Avenue in the dead of night. But that's only the start of the journey. The house still has to travel 2 blocks in the dark across a slippery, sloping parking lot, and then jump a curb and take a tight turn to meet the barge at dawn.
There's always the risk of some movement of the building and toppling.
And if they don't make it to the barge on time, it could jeopardize the entire move.
You're in the open ocean. We have to be offloading the building at a high tide. We only have a 2-hour window.
But 6 days before the move, the focus is on this hill and getting the house off its 24-foot perch. In order to go down, the house must first be raised up to lift it off its foundation.
As we begin to break free, you're going to hear a lot of noise because the building's been sitting here for almost 100 years.
Steel beams support the house while hydraulic jacks do the heavy lifting.
We got to the end of stage 1. We got the building jacked up. It looks good.
Great.
But now that the house is off its foundation, it has to come off the hill, and that means shoving the whole thing forward.
My biggest concern is it's a pretty big and I imagine pretty heavy house.
And there's only one thing keeping the 100-ton house in place.
Gravity does its work. If the house isn't perfectly level when we set it on the skates, it'll start going on its own. That's not a good thing. Worst case scenario is that the building would begin to roll downhill and end up on East Lake Avenue sooner than we want.
The skates are in place.
Good.
All that's needed is a good shove.
We're going to use the boom of the crane.
So there's a lot of force that needs to go into that one spot, and I'm a little bit concerned about the effect on this wall. Whatever happens to it, eventually we will have to repair.
They need to go real easy now, real easy.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
If they push too hard with the boom, they could lose a lot more than a wall.
Hold it. Hold it. Whoa!
They could lose the whole house.
As the building began to move forward and the weight increased on those steel rollers, I heard the pinging sound immediately behind me. I knew that something had gave way. It was the sound of a skate breaking. I kind of sent shockwaves through your body for a moment.
This move is already more than they bargained for.
We're just going to have to revert back to using the heavier skates. Okay, let's go a little bit more. Okay, Sam, keep coming. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Everything's looking good on this side here. Whoa, whoa!
It takes an entire day to skate the house forward off the foundation. But that's just the first step. The sideways skate is far more dangerous to the crew and the house.
That part there is probably causing me to lose a little sleep over.
They must slide the house 65 feet sideways off the hill.
The biggest challenge for these movers will be getting it over this cliff and then lower down. I can't imagine thinking that would be possible.
The skating beams are these two large beams right here. By the end of today, I would like to see the house sitting 18 feet in the air over top of this parking lot. Right there. And the race is on.
First time I've really seen this side of the house.
We're gonna leave it right there for the night. Tomorrow morning, we'll carry on with skating it right over top of the parking lot. The nerve-wracking part is yet to come.
It's the most dangerous part of the move. This house needs to come down.
As you can see down here, we've got quite a drop in elevation, approximately 18 to 20 feet.
And the deadline is right around the corner.
It's vital that we have this on time, on wheels, ready to move for Saturday night. That's our deadline.
There are only 3 days left before Jeff and Sally's 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Seattle, Washington
Everywhere you look, the wood floors, the walls, it's just sort of rich with character.
moves off its hill and onto a barge,
Yeah, we're in the crunch time right now.
so they can ship this historic home 60 miles to the San Juan Islands.
Giving it a new life will be really a wonderful thing for this house.
Once we get it there, it'll be home.
The 100-ton house has already been pushed off its foundation on rollers and up to the edge of the hill. Now it's time to push it off the cliff.
We've got quite a drop in elevation, approximately 18 to 20 feet, so the building will be sitting right up in the air.
The only thing holding it up will be steel beams and piles of wooden cribbing.
We're gonna have 100 tons sitting over our heads. Everybody's nerves will be a little bit on edge, and that's gonna be the part that'll be a little dramatic. Okay, are we all clear and ready to start pushing?
The sideways slide begins,
The building is moving.
and Jeremy's crew watches closely.
Everybody will be watching for the movement of those cribs. First 3 feet went well.
It's a pretty phenomenal technical feat.
Getting ready for our last push. Are we ready? Yeah, that's it right there. She's bang on. And I know everybody's feeling a big sigh of relief right now.
The house is finally off the hill.
We hope there's no ceilings that drop out, but there's bound to be some cracks in the walls.
The house is perched 18 feet in the air.
Now we can begin the lowering process.
To lower the house, the crew must remove the wooden cribbing piece by piece. and then drop the house inches at a time with the hydraulic jacks.
You're working over your head. It'll be a little bit slower for about the first 3 or 4 feet. Extra care is taken when we're this high. We're really close.
It's a 5-hour ordeal. But the house isn't ready to roll just yet.
We have a welder coming. Everything's going to be secured together, the wheels to the steel beams.
And that will be important once the house hits the parking lot across the street.
The ground is sloping like this, and so what we want to do is we want to make the building go back level like this. To do that, we've got the dollies higher on this side than on this side. The wheels are going to look really weird, and the building's going to look nice and level.
Can't wait to see it cross the road and go onto the barge.
But the night of the move, things don't get any easier.
It couldn't be worse because it's creating a slippery slope when we go down this parking lot.
And when the move stalls out, there's more pressure than ever to make it to the barge on time.
There's still quite a bit to do before we get to the barge. Finally, tonight is here. The house is about to come across the road. It's unbelievable.
It's just after 11 p.m. on the night of the big move.
I am happy I'm here, but I am also really tired.
Jeff and Sally's 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house is about to cross the 3rd busiest intersection in Seattle. Their target? A barge on the other side.
It's really exciting. My butterflies are here and my heart's beating.
It's going to be interesting to see how this contraption works with the trailing wheels and hydraulics.
But this house can't go anywhere until utility crews cut the trolley lines and power lines over East Lake Avenue.
They're going to cut down this 50-foot section of trolley lines all the way on both sides.
And there's another potential delay. It's pouring rain.
If the road surfaces are slippery, that's something else that we need to take into consideration.
And even at 2 in the morning, the streets are packed with cars and onlookers.
We're not sure who they are.
We just come back from the bars and all of a sudden there's all this sort of like, wow, look at that house.
There will be loose lines laying around on the road. We want to make sure that the crowd is a safe distance away.
And what's more, the clock is ticking.
Time is money. The crews can cost $1,500 an hour or more.
Yeah, the dollars are adding up here, so every minute I'm getting a little more impatient.
Finally, at 2:30 in the morning,
We're ready. Great, we're rolling.
The biggest challenge is to make sure this thing gets right across the street without it falling off.
Ride the clutch, nice and easy, coming ahead.
Oh, it looked like it was falling over.
luckily this rig stays together. There's a tight squeeze ahead.
We've only got about a foot of room on either side between the poles. Rolling ahead.
Straight, looking good.
Okay, guys, let me know when I'm clear of the road.
Pretty fabulous.
Tremendous. Watching it cross the street with like a foot clearance, I totally speechless. I don't know how I do that.
That was really something, seeing it cross the street.
What took hours to prep is over in 5 minutes. And by 3 a.m., the crew is facing the toughest challenge of the night.
We still have the journey down to the water though, so it's not over.
And now we got to deal with the slope of the land.
The parking lot the house must cross has a 12-degree slope, and the rain isn't helping.
It couldn't be worse. It's creating a slippery slope.
The house can't go any farther until it's tilted on jacks to compensate for the slope.
We're just getting our dollies reset now for the steeper slope of the parking lot, so that'll keep the building level.
The house inches along.
The slope of this parking lot's quite dramatic.
That's a good speed, just like that, guys. Looking good. Easy, easy.
There was a little crash back there. I thought it was one of the windows being shattered by the tree, but I don't think that's the case.
we're not done yet.
At daybreak, the barge arrives right on time.
Well, it's a new day.
It's been an emotional night, and then the fatigue.
The only thing standing between the house and the barge is a 6-inch curb. And time is running out. They need to sail soon to catch high tide at the other end.
Things are running a little bit behind right now. We had some delays with dropping some of the lines, so we lost about 45 minutes to an hour there.
It's another frustrating delay.
Oh, I want to see it get loaded onto the barge.
But they can't get on the barge until they get over the curb.
It's going to be a little bumpy when we go over here, so there'll be a little creaking and groaning. Coming ahead, nice and easy.
It sounded like the house was groaning. I would like to see how that affected the walls.
After an hour, the house is finally over the curb.
Just hold it there a second, guys. Hold it there.
But there's still one last tight turn.
Whoa, 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 whoa! We got quite a lean to it right now.
It's got an increase in the incline. It is definitely the most unlevel I've ever seen this house.
And the house was supposed to be on the barge by now.
Our goal was around this time to be launching.
We're not there yet.
It's getting worse, especially on this angle, eh?
I'm a little concerned. We're going to run into these branches.
It looks like, I'm just amazed that these branches are missing. What was that big thunk?
We'll see what's going on inside the house later.
I was just thinking how this is gonna go down as a big family story.
But they're 2 hours behind schedule. And there's a new problem.
It's starting to pick up a little bit of wind.
And it could keep this house grounded.
When the barge pulls away, I'll be able to breathe a little easier.
It's been a 12-hour ordeal, and Jeff and Sally's house hasn't shipped out yet.
It's the Super Bowl of moving houses right here. Yeah.
The crew is hurrying to load this 1,600 square foot house onto a barge in time to sail 60 miles to the San Juan Islands.
We're at least a few hours behind schedule.
The barge lies dead ahead. A narrow dock is the only way to get there.
This dock is kind of old and rickety, and we can't put the kind of weight that this house is on the dock. So we needed to get ramps that were long enough to be able to span it.
And the crew's extreme sleep deprivation threatens this last push.
I've been up since, well, I guess it's a little more than 24 hours right now. Everybody's on pins and needles and watching and listening and hold it, trying to be as careful as possible. Now's the time that we got to get that second wind, and we're going to have to suck it up and make it happen.
When the barge pulls away, I'll be able to breathe a little easier.
It's nearly 11 a.m. by the time the house loads onto the barge.
When the front axle gets on the barge, it's like, it's on. And it's a great feeling.
There's a little bit of celebration, clapping and hooting and hollering a little bit.
And we want to dance a jig. I feel a big relief, ready for the next stage, which is on to the waterways.
I'm looking forward to seeing it on the island.
But this house isn't going anywhere just yet.
There's a lot of wind.
Yeah, no, I can see that, the way the clouds are moving there and the wind's going there. You don't want to take off here until it dies down.
They're 3 hours behind schedule, and they've missed their chance to sail.
The barge captain is requesting that they not sail.
We've been waiting 12 years for this, so I think another day or two is not going to be a problem.
8 hours later, the weather breaks, and the barge finally sets sail.
I think it'll be cool to see the house on the water with the Seattle skyline in the background. And then, of course, it'll get to the locks.
The The Hiram Locks is one of the most spectacular places on the move route. The water has to be allowed to drop down while the barge is in the actual lock here, and then get it down to sea level on the other side.
We're finally here, about to say goodbye.
It's the only day we're gonna move a house in our life.
It's true.
It is 11:30 the following night before the barge reaches the island,
It's pretty dark.
and they have only 2 hours of high tide to bring the house to shore.
That water moves pretty rapidly. We have to be moving rapidly as well.
The offload is a success.
The crew just did an amazing job getting the house up the beach and then over onto our land.
And 13 hours after reaching the island, this century-old house finally finds a new home.
I like to bungee jump, and this is very close to the adrenaline. When it gets on site like that, it's a great feeling.
I want to thank everybody.
Cheese, everybody!
Yes.
This is a very emotional moment for me. It's finally here, and to see the view is what I've been waiting for.
There's a culmination and a fulfillment of dream that is really a good feeling.
Thank you so much.